Hi everyone, welcome again to Bake Your Way Kitchen, and today I'm going to be making for you brownies. These are very, very, very good, and the reason I'm making brownies now is because there's a particular recipe I absolutely love to make, and I make it every year after Christmas, and it's just an excuse to make brownies, I know, but I had leftover candy canes and I wanted to use them. So I'm going to be making for you today peppermint brownies. However, if you look down below, I'll show you that it doesn't need to be peppermint brownies. This is a very versatile fudge brownie recipe. You could make a mocha brownie, you could make just regular brownies. The options are endless, but today we're going to be making peppermint brownies. So what I've done here is I've crushed several candy canes, probably about 5 or so. I had about 5 or 6 left. And so you're going to need those, but that's not till later on. What you're going to need to do is preheat the oven to 350 or 180 degrees Celsius, and you're going to want to grease a 9-inch square pan. You could do it in a 9x13 as well, but your brownies will be super, super thin, so that's up to you. So now what you're going to need are basically unsalted butter. You're going to need one baking square of unsweetened chocolate. You'll need bittersweet chocolate. I'm going to just talk about that in a moment. You're going to need chocolate chips, because we're going to incorporate chocolate chips in the batter. You're going to need eggs, a little bit of flour, a little bit of salt, and some peppermint extract. So that's all the ingredients, and of course sugar. What is a brownie without sugar? Anyways, so let's just dive right into this. So the first thing we need to do is put our unsalted butter, and I just have it right here, into our bowl. Whoops. I probably should have taken this out of its packaging before, but whatever. I'm doing it now. So you're going to need to put that in a heat-proof glass bowl, as well as your 1 ounce or 28 grams of unsweetened chocolate. And here's 3 ounces of bittersweet chocolate. Now, you want to use a good quality chocolate. Let me tell you, if you use a good quality chocolate, I know it sucks, you pay the extra few bucks, but let me tell you, you get such a better brownie. I'm using these Keiko Berry. This is a Mexican chocolate. It's a bittersweet 66% chocolate. I would really recommend that you use a high quality chocolate for this recipe, for any brownie recipe, because you want that chocolate flavor to really stand out. Anyway, so what I'm going to do now is I've put this over a bowl of water, and I'm going to bring it to the stove and put it over a simmer. And what I'm going to do is melt these two together, and I'll show you what that looks like in a second. While our butter and chocolate is melting, I figure let's move on with the rest of the process to get going. So I've got here 1 cup of white sugar, and again, all the ingredients are down below. That's about 200 grams, as well as 2 eggs, and we're going to put this in, and we're going to whisk this together till it's a nice pale color. Alright, so this is the consistency you're looking for. So we've got our 2 eggs and our sugar incorporated together. So now that that's done, we can add in 1 teaspoon of pure peppermint extract. And let me tell you, that may not seem like a lot, but peppermint extract is so strong. It's a really strong extract, so it's actually quite a bit that we're putting in. But we want this to be a really minty brownie. So that's incorporated. So now all we have to do is wait till our chocolate is melted, chocolate and butter is melted, and then we will add it in. So the chocolate and butter have now melted, and I've let it cool for about 5 or 10 minutes. The reason being, you don't want to immediately put the hot chocolate in with raw eggs, otherwise you could scramble them. And I don't think chocolate scrambled eggs brownies would be that pleasant, so I would recommend not doing that. So what you're going to want to do, there's 2 options. You can either pour a little tiny bit of the egg mixture in with the chocolate to bring it down to room temperature, or immediately just pour a little bit of the chocolate in like this, just like this, and immediately whisk. So I'm just going to put in a little bit, and just to get these eggs tempered, and basically that's just to make sure it doesn't curdle. You're just going to want to really just whisk constantly, or whisk or use a spatula, it doesn't matter at this point, because we've already incorporated a lot of air into the egg mixture, so whisking this is not necessarily important. Just making sure the eggs are constantly moving so that they don't cook is important. So that should be good enough. So now I'm going to add more of our chocolate mixture. In fact, I'll add most of it. I'll get rid of that, don't worry. I don't let any chocolate go to waste, so if you're looking at that bowl, yeah, I know there's still more to add. Just going to incorporate this in. And what I've done here in this bowl, in the silver bowl I've got here, I incorporated, I mixed together 2/3 a cup of flour with a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And that's it for the dry mixture. There's not a lot of flour, only 2/3 of a cup, and only salt. There's no leavening agents like baking soda or baking powder, because we're not trying to get this to rise. We want a dense, fudgy brownie, and that's how you get it. So, I've added in all the chocolate now. So once I've fully incorporated it through, we will go ahead and add the dry mixture. And this is just easy to make. I'm doing this by hand. You can do this in a stand mixer, but I don't know why. I like to make brownies by hand. I just think, you know, they're very 1, 2, 3, and, you know, I don't want to incorporate a lot of air, and I get to control the amount I stir in this one. Alright, so our chocolate's now in, so now we're going to add in 1/2 cup of chocolate chips. Now this is optional, but I like to have those chocolate chips in there. You could also add nuts, or add nuts instead of, like pecans or something. So I'm going to start by stirring a little bit of this in. And now we're going to add in our dry mixture, and as you can see, there's not a whole lot. Sorry about that. There's only a little bit here. And we're just going to mix to combine, and that is it. Because we want this dense, we want this nice and soft, and we don't want this to be tough when it comes out of the oven. Now, baking time varies. It can really vary. I would recommend checking them after about, well, you know what, I'm going to see how this goes, because this is actually a recipe that I came up with, and so I haven't made this one in a while, so I'm not entirely sure. So I'm going to put this in the oven, and I will let you know. My guess is it might be around, it depends, some ovens are faster than others, but for mine it might probably be like 20 minutes, but I'll let you know. So I've got my 9-inch square pan here, and all I'm going to do is put this in. It's that simple, and then it just goes in the oven. There we go. Oh, it already smells amazing. I already can't wait to dig in to this. And when I take these out of the oven, I'm going to talk about some delicious options for the top and to go on the side. Oh, it's going to be delicious. And if you may notice, or I'm not sure if you can, but there is still a few little tiny pockets of flour, but that's good. That means you didn't mix it too much, so good on you. So I'm just making sure that it's all evenly spread out. I would use an offset spatula, but I just didn't have one out, so I'm just going to do this with a regular spatula. And, alright. So we've got it pretty well, it's pretty well balanced here. Alright, there we go. I'll leave this for me. So this is what you're gonna get, and I would simply, before putting it in, just tap it. That way if there's any air bubbles or anything, that'll just get rid of it. We don't want those. So I'm going to put these in the oven, and I will take them out once they're done. You can do the toothpick test, and basically you want it to come up with moist crumbs. You do not want this to come out clean, unlike most baking recipes, because we want this moist, we want it fudgy, we want it nice and soft on the inside. We want it kind of cracked on the top, but nice and soft in the inside. So I'll show you what I mean by that when I take these out of the oven. Alright, so I just checked, and our brownies are just about done. So I'm going to show you what I'm going to do next. So I'm going to take them out of the oven here. And you can see it's ready because the top has cracked here, and a toothpick inserted in the center. You'll notice some moist crumbs come out. Now, I've got here, this is going to be amazing, I added a few chocolate chips to add on top. So all you have to do now is just spread this over the top. Spread this little mixture. Oh, it smells incredible. Try to spread it as evenly as possible. And you can use more or less pepper if you're making this, more or less candy canes. This is a very candy cane-y topping. Alright, so this is just going to go back in the oven for about literally 30 or 40 seconds. So I took them out of the oven and I put them in the freezer for about an hour, and I've taken them out so they've set, and I'm going to take a bite for you. I'll just give you a side angle. Look at that. I don't know if you can see that well, but it's so fudgy. And I've put the rest in a container. I got about 16 squares, and I've got one here. And I put the rest in here, and I'll just keep them in the fridge. That's the best way to store them. They're best stored cool. And anyways, let's take a bite and see how it is. Oh, that crunch from the candy canes already. There's nothing like a fudgy brownie. This tastes delicious. This would go great with ice cream, great with a little bit of whipped cream. It's fantastic. Another thing you can do is a chocolate ganache, and I'll have a recipe up for that soon, coming up next, and that's a delicious option as well. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this recipe. It's absolutely phenomenal. I've got to go back for seconds. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time.